Hey y'all, so let's talk about how when you personally attack yourself, everything is a personal attack. So we all know those people, and some of us are those people where we take everything personally. And when I say everything personally, it's usually the thing that we have shame around. And shameless plug, if you haven't listened to the Shame Peace podcast, go back and listen to episode 42. But when we personally attack ourselves, meaning that the narrative inside of our brain is constantly critiquing, criticize, and judging ourselves. One thing that happens is that we judge others based on that same narrative. So we have this lens of perfectionism. We're operating on our ego, and not the kind that makes us arrogant, but the ego that says, I have to protect myself from anything that might harm me. And if we think that judgment is a threat, it's usually from a space of, I already judge myself so much that I can't take the threat of someone else even offering me constructive criticism, or what I like to call fierce feedback. And because of that, every time someone offers us that fierce feedback, we judge them based on the feedback they gave us, as opposed to simply going internally and figuring out what we could be doing differently. And the reason that happens is because the narrative inside of our head comes from somewhere. And normally it's from our family operating system. So we're thinking about the people who raised us, etc. And if those people told us that we weren't enough, if those people told us that we were never going to amount to anything, if those people constantly put us in a space where we were earning their love and trying to gain their adoration based on our acts and not just loving us for who we were, then the narrative inside of our head says you're not good enough, and it judges things through the lens of, if people don't adore you as much as you need them to adore you, then you are missing something. So it's a personal attack. And because we have that narrative inside of our head, we're consistently on defense because everything's a threat. Every comment that someone makes is a threat. Every behavior that they enact is a threat. Every time they correct us or don't consider us, or, don't understand our emotions, even though we haven't communicated them, all of that is a threat. And so anytime someone brings something to us, we've already threatened ourselves internally by the narrative that we're speaking to ourselves. So that external threat is just too much for us to bear. So when you think about the thing that you operate in this space, the thing that inside of you that allows you, or I shouldn't say allow, causes you to operate in this space, you think about when you gain feedback about that thing. So like if perfectionism is your jam, right? So if anybody offers you any feedback, what you really tell yourself, the story that you tell yourself is, I'm not good enough. They don't think I'm good enough. So I'm going to defend the work that I've done and show that I am good enough. If you're operating from a space of, if people give me external validation, then that makes me enough. And you have the lens of, I've done all of these things for people, so those should be the receipts for people to never bring anything negative to me. That's because you're filtering from a lens inside of you that says, I am keeping account of all of the good that I'm doing, because I'm saying that good means that I should receive good from the world. So I'm keeping record of good doing instead of wrongdoing. And then I'm expecting people to give me the validation that I seek based on that. And so when those same people bring something to you, you view it as a threat immediately. So if someone brings something to you that they're just sharing their emotions, I really don't appreciate when you do this. This is how it makes me feel. And in the future, I would like to see this happen. Or I really feel hurt by this thing that you continue doing. Or, I'm not one of those people who just thinks that this is okay, and so I need you to stop doing it. Well, when they bring that to you, instead of you being somebody who can internalize it and correct the behavior, you immediately take it as a personal attack. They don't love you, they don't adore you, you must not be good enough because they corrected your behavior. When in actuality, somebody who's trying to set a boundary with you loves you so much that they want to set the boundaries so they can keep you at that access point. That's the whole reason that we set boundaries in the first place, if we're doing it from a healthy space. So if they're telling you something that you're doing that's hurting them, it's really because they want you to stay. And if you're filtering everything through the lens of a personal attack, then instead of you viewing it that way, hey, look, this person loves me so much, they want me to be here, and there's this thing that I need to do to make that happen because I'm hurting them. You'll filter it through, oh, this person brought something to me. It's a personal attack. So I'm going to defend myself, and I'm either going to judge and talk about them, or I'm going to shame them for something that they're not doing in order for me to feel better about the thing that I'm not doing. So it kind of looks like this. Let's say a family member makes negative comments every time you come to a family gathering. And I'm using this example because I've lived it. So you come to a family gathering and somebody's talking about your weight or the way you look or something like that. And if that person is filtering everything from the lens of personal attack, and you say something to them like, hey, listen, that really hurts my feelings. Can we just not talk about physical appearance? Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something more productive. Instead of them thinking, that's probably a good avenue for us to take because it's productive and it might actually, spread awareness and ideas and wisdom, and we can share, our greatest endeavors. They're going to be like, can you even believe that she told me what I can say to her in my own front yard? Well, she told you that because she's telling you, I need to set a boundary with you because what you're saying to me in your own front yard about me as a person is hurting my feelings. And so I will no longer come to your front yard if you continue to say these things because of the way that it makes me feel. And so if we're flipping it on the other end, and you're the person who's dealing with somebody who takes everything personally, you have to understand that no matter what you bring to that person, no matter how many times you re-script and draft and edit the way that you say that thing, they are filtering it through a lens of insecurity, and they're hearing it like the narrative that they hear it in their own brain. There's nothing you can do to confront that situation in a better way. I'm telling you from experience again, because I was in a relationship with someone who was very much that way. His insecurities bled onto the whole world around him. And so anything that happened, no matter how many times I redrafted that text, no matter how many times I wrote the script for what I was going to say to him, if it was something that he deemed a personal attack because it was a threat on him, because of the narrative that he told himself and because he was operating in the ego to protect himself, didn't matter what I said or how I said it, didn't matter how many videos I listened to on how to communicate effectively with your partner, he was going to view it through a lens of a personal attack. And that's because the narrative that was in his brain was, you're not good enough, so I have to utilize the people around me to boost my self-esteem, to fill my ego. And if they don't do that, then I'm going to protect myself by being defensive or, shutting down or giving them the cold shoulder, or it really was disciplining them for bringing anything negatively to me. And you can see that in that type of relationship, you can't have health inside of that type of relationship, because health comes from being able to communicate with each other. And that other part of it is comprehension. Being able to comprehend what that other person is saying to you. And you can't do that if you're consistently filtering it through this lens of, they owe me something, I'm entitled to their positive feedback and their adoration of me. But if they give me something different, then I'm going to shut down emotionally to protect myself. So if you're in a space with somebody who you're dealing with that has that lens of, they take everything personally because they're consistently personally attacking themselves, you have to know that it's not your responsibility to say it in a different way. It truly is their responsibility to deal with that insecurity so that everything isn't about them. And that's something that you're going to notice with these type of people. Everything is about them. Somebody could cut them off and it's about them. Oh, that person cut me off and da-da-da-da. There's never empathy for why that person might have been driving that way, or just the fact that the person made a mistake in the first place. But let them cut somebody off, accident or on purpose, and they have a valid reason for doing so. So If you're dealing with those type of people, just remember that you have no accountability or responsibility to try to change the way you speak to them. You just have to speak the truth that exists inside of you, and they have to deal with receiving it in such a way that could make the situation a positive or not. And if you are one of those people, I truly encourage you to think about what personal narrative is happening inside of your head and how you might switch that narrative to say, you know what? These people are coming to me from a loving space. Or, you know what? That person said that I did this thing to them, and it's not up to me to be able to identify whether that should be their feelings. It's up to me to identify whether I want to continue in their life and how I'm going to show up for them so I don't hurt them in the same way again. If someone brings something to me, it's not up to me to gossip about the messenger and try to negate the source, because that's what we do. We try to take away the credibility of the source by making them just as bad as the thing that they said that we did. But instead we just say, you know what, that's the way that person feels about me. And if I want relationship with them, then I have to change or modify this thing. And if I don't want relationship with them, then I'm just going to either cut them off or create a boundary. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you again for always tuning in. Remember to follow me on all social media sites and visit my website, carrienicole.com. Also tune into the Peace Podcast every Monday on YouTube, Apple Podcast, as well as Spotify. And if you're healing from a toxic relationship, like the one I mentioned earlier with the person who just couldn't accept anything no matter what script I wrote, go ahead and click the link below and sign up for my course to heal from a toxic relationship and emerge in the power of peace. I have gone through this process, and it is a surefire 6-step process that will take you to a space of being in peace. I will see you guys next time.